And we're back with the Smacking Off Square Table discussion. We're here with 4 smackers tonight. We've changed it up just a little bit, but we've got a few familiar faces. Representing the Clemson Tigers, we have a brand new smacker on tonight, Mr. Dane Kelly. Dane, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well. I hope you are.
Oh, I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Wonderful.
Awesome.
We also have our dear friend, Mr. Timothy Ray Bailey from Oklahoma. What's
How's
up?
it going?
Living the dream. We also have, we actually had a Miami smacker lined up. He had some technical difficulties. We'll have him on soon. But since, he kind of knows a little bit about Miami, we're going to let Sean Devine talk about it. Sean, how you doing tonight?
Hey, it's a pleasure as always, gentlemen.
It won't be here in a little bit.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it.
He's our resident Notre Dame connection, but
yes, he's our Notre Dame hookup.
But I like to consider myself, the college football everyman. I watch all the games, you know that. And I did attend the Wisconsin-Michigan game this past weekend, so any questions you have about Wisconsin, I can answer.
Oh, we're definitely going to bring them into the conversation. And we also have our dear friend, Mr. Sean Cagle. Sean, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
Man, can't complain a bit. All right. Again, since Sean's, kind of eating a little bit of crow tonight, we'll let him go ahead and get started first. Let's talk about let's talk about a few things. You want to talk about some Notre Dame?
I think we're good on Notre Dame. I think we're trying to get out a win.
Let's talk about some Miami then.
Yeah, let's definitely talk about Miami since we all got a good close look at them this past weekend.
Yeah, well, the one thing I understand about Miami is Rozier, their quarterback, was playing with a heavy heart. His father had just had a stroke. I don't know if you guys were aware of that.
No, I haven't heard that.
Had no idea. And yes, actually, he learned about that about an hour before the Notre Dame game. But now his father's in recovery from the stroke. So, big win over Notre Dame last week, and a little trap game against Virginia, a very game Virginia team who literally gave their all to try to win that game. And so, Miami, to their credit, and I hate Miami, but to their credit, in the fourth quarter, they played their ass off, came back, put the points on the board, and in that game, 44-31, I think it was. So, you have to talk to Miami. They proved themselves.
Yeah, they most definitely did. We're going to move on to the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, I'll be quite frank. I was expecting Oklahoma to have a strong finish this year, but I think I kind of thought Lincoln Riley might not be up to the task to actually bring it back home to Norman. But man, he's got those boys balling. However, speaking of balling, let's talk about Mr. Baker Mayfield's performance over Kansas over the weekend. What was that about? We're talking about fucking Kansas. You know what I'm saying? Ohio State, I'll give him that. But Kansas, come on.
The planting of the flag. The planting of the flag at Ohio State, to me, is not really a big deal. It's not even really
it was the planting of that
point.
Oklahoma dick and the Ohio State ass. That was what the big story was that weekend. Fuck that flag.
What happened at Kansas? I do want to give a little bit of perspective. The handshake. There was this handshake snub, which I don't really think it's disrespect, but I don't really think it's that big of a deal.
I mean, again, okay, well then fuck you. I'm going to go out and destroy your team like we do every year,
Now, the cheap shots is, I think, what got through Baker. He got hit in the head several times way after the plays were over.
Probably not some fucking sense into him.
There was one time where Dorrance Armstrong actually held Baker down, and the OU right tackle Bobby Evans had to pick him up and throw him off.
So there was some shit going on during the game. They were mixing it up during the game. That's not necessarily what the camera was focused on. It was just that one gesture that Baker did toward the end of the game.
It's not cool, to be honest, for him to do that. This stuff happens in every football game, though. People need to understand the context and the perspective of that. Football, this is what happens in football. There's a lot worse that happens in football than that.
Well, this is true.
Said, Baker's a Heisman. He's the winner. He has the trophy. Already has his name on it.
Oh my God.
A lot of folks are saying that. Now look, I gotta say this though before we go any further. I gotta say this: Oklahoma has decided to not start Baker Mayfield in the West Virginia game. Now, of course, not start means that he may sit out for a few plays and then get thrown in there when they're suddenly West Virginia kicks their first field goal and they're up 3-0. Then suddenly they're going to freak out and Baker's going to come out and grab his balls and take care of business. But I have to say this. There is a chance, and I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out. This is my prediction for the week, that Oklahoma may decide to go ahead and sit him out for the entire quarter. And the reason being is, and this is just follow me for half a second. The reason being is the Joe Mixon incident. The Joe Mixon incident, long after the fact, even years after the fact, when he was headed to the NFL and wasn't even playing for Oklahoma anymore, was a big deal with a lot of the rest of the national audience, because they felt that Bob Stoops should have been a little bit more harsher in that penalty when he beat the fuck out of that girl. Now, having said all that, and we've talked about that on this show, and God knows we've all talked about it online at some point in time. Forget that story. That story's old and dried up. But I think public perception is going to throw Baker Mayfield on that bench, and this is why I say that. Has anybody seen, I don't know, the rushing defense for West Virginia this year?
They're off.
Just about damn near
Yeah,
ranked one. I think they
To
were
be
ranked
honest,
96th
this
in
could
the
be a
nation.
nightmare for West Virginia.
Oklahoma
that
can
Kyler
probably-
Murray's in. To be
Oklahoma
honest,
can probably handle West Virginia without Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, well,
even
for the
playing.
entire game. And again, if they sit him out for the entire game, well, everybody's going to praise Lincoln Riley as doing the right thing in this, that, and the other. But as soon as I saw that stat, I was like, yeah, I know what's going on here.
What,
Will Greer's out.
has anybody heard if Will Greer's out for this game?
No, he's out. He's out.
That's
Yeah.
dude.
4 to
Dude,
6
did you
weeks.
see the finger?
Okay.
That is
4 to 6
brutal.
weeks, so
No,
he's
I
done
missed
for the
it.
year.
Jeez. Oh man, it was part of the skin was just gone.
Yeah.
Like it was just gone.
Oh, God.
Oh man,
That's
dude, it was
terrible.
That
brutal.
finger is mangled.
Oh,
Mm.
and it's a throwing hand. I played quarterback. That finger's too important. That's one of
If
your
that's his
laces.
throwing
That-
hand, that's also his jerking hand, too. So he's going to have to find
Yeah,
somebody
man.
to help him out
He's
with
gonna
that.
have to find another way. I'll say this about the Baker incident a little bit more. ESPN runs a delay, as does every broadcast.
Whoa, somebody at a drive-thru or something? What the fuck is that? What are y'all doing?
All right, who's going to do Chick-fil-A?
Hey, yeah, give me. Oh, if you're Chick-fil-A, give me that the chicken nuggets and give me that superfood side. That kale salad. Oh my god, it's so good.
Chocolate milkshake. Give me
Ah,
You
fucking
gotta get
milkshake.
a shake, man.
I'm trying to lose weight.
All right, Sean
Waffle fries.
Cagle.
Well, wait a minute. Wait. Wait. I think Timothy was trying to make his final
Okay,
point.
one
about,
second,
about,
Sean.
About that, because again, I threw it out there. We got to give him a chance to respond.
Okay. Well, ESPN and every major network, when they broadcast a game, they run a delay so that way they can prevent things like that from being seen. And I'm really kind of concerned as to why, we've seen some serious bias towards Oklahoma from ESPN with D.D. Westbrook last year and other situations.
Yeah.
It bothers me that they didn't use their delay to prevent that from being shown. I feel like they would have done that had it happened to a guy like Cam Newton or a guy like, Greg McElroy, who flipped off out.
Yeah, but I mean,
Auburn fans during the game.
I think I
It's all
share.
about the ratings, baby.
Well, and I also think I share the same sentiment that most of the nation does about Baker Mayfield, and that's fuck Baker Mayfield.
Visit our Facebook pages, Smacking Off the Podcast fan page and Smacking Off the Podcast group page, facebook.com/group/smackoff, facebook.com/smackologists.
Sorry,
Pretty
I mean,
much.
it's the same. It's the same reason that everybody says fuck Alabama. I mean, Baker Mayfield's fucking balling right now. He's balling. He's had a little bit of off the field, troubles, but nothing too salacious. I mean, running from the police drone. So there's that.
I
don't
got
know.
tackled cold by that fat
he
boy.
did. Oh man, that fat boy ruined his ass.
Yeah, I mean, like he's done a better job than the SEC defenders on him. I remember
Absolutely,
Auburn
man.
last year had no
Florida would give their left nut for him right now.
Yeah. There wouldn't be nothing left in Florida.
That being said, I think Oklahoma as a whole, the team as a unit, very good team this year. The defense is getting a lot better. The last 2.5 games, they've given up only 37 points on 35 drives. That's big.
That is big. For Oklahoma and a Big 12 defense, yeah, that's huge.
7 turnovers if you include turnovers on downs in the last 10 quarters. So they're getting turnovers in 70% of the quarters they're playing in over the last 10 quarters. So things are improving. The Oklahoma defense is getting better.
It's funny that when I watch Oklahoma now, like right this second, and throughout most of the trajectory of their season, they kind of remind me, and nobody sneer when I say this, but they kind of remind me of the Auburn national championship game with Cam. They really do. They look like that at times. The defense bends a little bit, but it doesn't break. Solid quarterback all day, every day. And again, I don't know. I'm keeping my fingers crossed because, quite frankly, I would absolutely kill for a Bama-Oklahoma matchup in the CFP.
I think that's what everyone wants to see. But other than teams that are, I think that'd be the best for the ratings. But
absolutely.
That's going to be good for Oklahoma once they leave Big 12 play and go into the postseason. They're not going to face 35 drives in 10 quarters. That's an absurd number. I mean, that's crazy. 35 drives
Oklahoma
in 10
played
quarters.
defense first.
Sean Cagle, I heard that Alabama has a game coming up this weekend.
Yeah, we got a small little game coming up.
What do you think?
Are we going to see
I think Auburn's overrated a little bit.
Yeah, are we going to see the Auburn
They got
team?
holes in their defense big time.
Are we going to see the Auburn team that showed up against Georgia, or are we going to see the Auburn team that showed up against LSU? Or excuse me, it didn't show up.
I think we're going to see the Auburn team that showed up against Mercer, to tell you the truth.
Woo! That's what I heard right there, boy.
Wow.
24-10. They gave them a run for the
I
money.
guess at least Louisiana Monroe's a group of 5.
Tell me this.
Yeah.
I want to get everybody's opinion on this.
Whoa. Didn't St. Nick lose to Louisiana Monroe?
Man, that was like 40 years ago. Next.
Yeah, it wasn't 40 years.
Yeah, that was the first year.
Yeah, that was a decade
To be
ago.
honest,
I want to get an opinion on this.
the Oklahoma team reminds me of 92 Miami.
92 Miami.
Yeah.
92 Miami.
Alabama. Has Alabama clinched the CFP if they don't get blown out at Auburn? What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they do either way. It's a close game or they blow them out. I think they've clinched it.
What's everybody else think?
Their butts kicked, which I doubt will happen. I don't think they can get in because their body of work isn't that good. Their schedule isn't good enough for them to not win their division and get in.
So what do you think?
I agree.
Badly.
You think if it's a close game that Alabama has clinched?
I agree as well.
They have an opportunity if it's a close game because the way Auburn's playing right now, they look the part. Auburn is the scariest team right now. They're the hottest team besides my Sooners right now.
Look, man, I said this all season long.
Opinion.
Auburn has been the only concern that I've
Absolutely
had
agree.
as an Alabama
Absolutely
fan
agree.
on our schedule all season. That's when before the season even started, the only game that I was really truly concerned about was Auburn. Not negating or any other team's performances. I mean, look what
You own the
Mississippi
rest of
State
them.
was
I mean,
able
it
to
is
do
what
last
it is.
weekend.
Dane, what do you,
It's the Iron Bowl. I mean, before they even went through the season and beat Georgia, did what they did, you already know the Iron Bowl is going to be a good game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Alabama's not as good as the last couple of years. They're still very good, but they're not. The depth isn't what it was. So you know that when Auburn has the best roster this year, in my opinion, in the SEC, the problem for them is coaching. For example, Gus Malzahn made his best play call of the year up 33-10. Why would you do that? That's so stupid.
Agree, man. This guy's killing it. I don't know who he is, but he's got it now.
Dane?
I mean, crazy.
Dane, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Guy, and I'm really
All right, let's talk about some Clemson.
Yeah, we really need to talk about Clemson. Clemson made kind of a controversial bump up in the rankings, and I say slightly controversial because of some of the other teams looming below them. What's your thought on that?
Well, I thought it was justified. I didn't think it was controversial at all.
I
think
really
the
didn't
committee-
either. Yeah.
I think the committee spokesperson pretty well laid it out after that was announced as to the reasoning for that. and that was that Clemson had more wins against Power 5 winning record teams than anybody else in the top 25, let alone the top 10. So
I mean, a really brutal schedule.
Okay.
I thought it was legitimate.
May I chime in?
Come on, baby.
Sure.
Clemson had 6 wins against teams with winning records. Oklahoma had 5. Clemson had 7 wins against teams with 500 or better record. Oklahoma has 7. Now they both have 6. Okay, with Kansas State winning. Secondly, Oklahoma had beaten 3 teams in the top 13 by double digits. NC State outgained Clemson and outplayed them in a game that they won narrowly, and that team's outside of the top 15. I'm not hating on Clemson, but the body of work this year that Clemson and Oklahoma have done, Oklahoma definitely outweighs what Clemson has done. The only argument they had is the defense and the Kelly Bryant injury. In the Iowa State game, Oklahoma lost 6 starters in that game, and they said they weren't even aware of an injury. That bothered me.
Well, but at the same time,
I can see your point there.
I also blame Oklahoma for making Iowa State look good, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Iowa State is an also ran, and y'all should have handled it. You should have handled that game.
I really think, and I've been saying this for the past couple of years, even before Oklahoma lost to Iowa State. I think Matt Campbell, the coach at Iowa State, is probably the most underrated head coach in the country. Like, I really could see him. I mean, people are going to think I'm nuts here, but I could see him taking over at an Alabama or at Oklahoma or.
Oh, well, there's about 8 different
really
jobs open in
program.
the SEC. He would be more
Matt
than
Campbell's
welcome
as good
at.
as it gets. Bill Belichick wanted him on his staff.
I'm telling you.
Is phenomenal. He's phenomenal.
And he's done more with less than anybody else in the country, for sure.
I mean, he brought in
Iowa State, the game that they beat the Sooners, I believe they were playing with a third-string quarterback that had never thrown a collegiate pass before. So, I mean, to be able to pull that out of your ass,
yeah, that's
you got to be pretty good with that. As a nose.
Also, he usually has a fat dip in, too, which is legit.
Guys, we
and that dude's cheek, you know it.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, that hurt. I'm still gonna have it.
I'm the greatest spectacle all over the face of the earth right now.
No, whoa. Okay, all right, fellas, time out. Come on, give me a second here. Fellas, pause. Just give me a second, man. Pause. Pause. Give me a second. Let me pause. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about here at SmackDown.
We've got the new CFP coming. I want to get all of you guys to chime in on where you think this is going to fall. Let's start with Sean Cagle.
It's really tough. I'm thinking it's probably going to stay basically the same.
Bama.
I don't really see much movement on that. The committee's really not really big on Oklahoma. I've noticed that the past 3 weeks. The body of work, like you're talking about, the committee's not seeing that body of work. They've left them outside of it 2 weeks in a row. I was really surprised they snuck into 4 this time. I figured Wisconsin would. I think maybe Wisconsin could possibly jump them when it comes out tomorrow.
Okay, so you're thinking Bama 1, Miami 2, Clemson 3, and possibly Wisconsin 4.
Yeah, it's a toss-up between Oklahoma and Wisconsin, but it's hard to say which way the committee will go.
All right, Sean Devine.
Yeah, so my top, I'm going to give you my 6 here.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
That's fine.
If I may. So I have Alabama number 1. They're unbeaten, and we're gonna obviously find out what they're made of this weekend. No disrespect any Alabama fans on here, but this is a litmus test, and if they win, then they're definitely the number 1 team in the country. Mm-hmm. Number 2, I got Miami. I know they had to get through the trap game of Virginia. They got another trap game this week against Pittsburgh. Up in Pittsburgh, it's going to be cold, and we know how Miami deals with cold. It's not very well, so I got Miami 2. I got Clemson 3 for their body of work. Irregardless of that game up in Syracuse, Clemson has impressed. And then 4, I got Wisconsin. They're unbeaten, and their defense really showed me a lot. They held Michigan in the second half to 49 total yards of offense. Very impressive. 5, I got Auburn. Auburn's looking like the most dangerous team in the country right now. And then, albeit I know Arkansas is putting feelers out for Gus, bringing him home, but that's a bit of a distraction. And then 6, I got Oklahoma for, and the reason I got Oklahoma 6 is a loss at home to Iowa State. Bad loss, particularly since Iowa beat Iowa State and Iowa got run over by Wisconsin. And then, and number 2, you can't beat Oklahoma State 65-58 or whatever the hell the damn score was at the end of that game, and Oklahoma State goes out and shits the bed, the next couple of weeks. That's my top 6 right there.
All right. We're definitely going to have to let Timothy follow that up.
Yeah, Timothy, you have the floor.
Well, first of all, the Oklahoma offense this year is one of the greatest offenses we've ever seen in college football history. I understand people are really hung up on the defense, but this offense might be better than the 2008 offense. So to have them at 6 behind a 2-loss Auburn team is pretty disrespectful. I hope they do that. Goodness. I hope they do that, and I hope Baker sees it. That would be stupid.
He's definitely going to grab his dick on that one, isn't he?
I would love it. But my top 4 is different from what the committee is going to be. The committee doesn't follow the things that they say is their protocol. The committee's probably going to go 1 Alabama, 2 Clemson, 3 Miami, 4 Wisconsin, 5 OU. If they followed their guidelines, which they say is strength of schedule, strength of record, the eye test, which Oklahoma clearly has been passing in recent weeks. And
remember, offense doesn't win championships; defense wins championships.
That's what they say. But
That's exactly
right.
right.
Have you watched the recent championship games? Because it's not really been the defense that's been winning championships recently.
Last year, it was all
the
about the
defense
offense.
has got them there, though.
Defense has got them there. That's fair. But you better be able to. A defense isn't going to win you a championship if you can't score. And that's the most important thing right now in college football is being able to score the football, because when the top teams play each other, points are going to happen, period, because of talent. It's just how it is. I mean, look at
unless it's Ohio State versus Clemson or Michigan State versus Alabama or
right.
Well, let's look at Oklahoma the last time they played Clemson.
Washington versus
Can
Alabama.
we just leave the Big Ten out? Can we just write them off?
I mean, yes, you can look at the Clemson Oklahoma game. I personally believe that was an outlier, because in the first series of the second half, Mixon and Pirine both get hurt when they were winning the game at the time. I do believe Clemson was the better team that year. Yes, next man up. But when you're losing your top 2 dudes, that matters. I mean, if you guys lost Wayne Gallman and Watson's ability to run against Oklahoma, you guys couldn't throw against the Sooners. How are you guys going to win? I mean, don't be silly.
I'm not a Clemson.
We would have just played our punter at quarterback.
Your punter kept you in it in the first half, regardless. That's over with. When top teams play each other, points are going to happen. It is what it is. The offensive scheme in college football right now is far surpassed defensive scheme. That's just how it is at this point.
All right, well, let's give
your defense can't be hot butter.
Well, true. But let's give Dane Kelly a chance to go ahead and make his picks for the top 4 coming up. Dane, you have
well, these are not my picks. These are what I believe the playoff committee will choose.
Right.
I've got Bama number 1, Clemson number 2, Miami number 3, and Oklahoma number 4, with Wisconsin and Auburn the first 2 out. I don't think they'll make any changes. It was tune-up Saturday. Nobody played anybody worth a damn. Nobody lost. Nothing
now,
really crazy happened.
Let me suppose this, though, just really quick.
I guess you could give Wisconsin credit for beating Michigan, but Michigan's been fucking garbage all year.
Yeah, Michigan's bullshit.
Because they don't have a quarterback.
But real quick though, where do you think? What do all 4 of you think happens to Auburn if they happen to beat Alabama this weekend, which is a very real possibility?
If they beat Alabama,
yes,
I believe they're in.
They'll probably move up to 5, and Alabama will fall to 6.
Fair enough.
For now, because they have
Auburn-
two losses matters. They'll get in. They control their own destiny.
If
But-
Auburn beats Alabama, they still have to beat Georgia.
Yeah, they'll have to do that. And look, for them to beat Alabama and to beat Georgia twice, pretty much all in like the 3-4 week stretch. I mean,
with their coach's best play call already on tape against the team they'll rematch.
yeah,
Stupid.
that's big time. Man.
It's just one play, man. Let it go.
touchdown. They just took a touchdown off the board in a game they might need it. That mattered.
I mean, if
That's
Auburn
7.
beats Alabama and then beats Georgia again in the SEC championship game, they're in.
Yeah.
They're the best team in the country if they do that.
The best, easily one of the best, or at least, and the thing is, they may not be the exact best, but they'll be the best at that moment with those late wins. And that's why it's so important to have those big wins late.
Yeah, they'll have some confidence in their hip pocket. And Stidham's a fantastic quarterback. That's the one thing that we're not talking about. If you look at the top 6 or 7 teams, the only team besides Oklahoma that has a great quarterback is Auburn. I mean, Hurts is a good quarterback. He's not bad, but that matters too. I mean,
Is Mayfield really a great quarterback though?
Mayfield's a
I
good
don't think he is.
quarterback. I don't think that.
you don't think Mayfield's a great quarterback? He's gonna
I
finish
think
top
he's a
10.
great college quarterback.
Yeah, he's Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, he's not going to be. He's going to be hot garbage when he goes pro.
Oh
He's gonna
man,
be
you
a-
guys
He's
are
undersized.
All right, this is something that we
He's
can
undersized.
continue
Yeah,
next
he's
week on the square table
Yeah,
discussion.
We're definitely going to
Yeah,
have
unreal.
this conversation next
Look at
week
what
on
the
the
scouts
square
are saying
table
about him.
discussion.
Yeah, but is he going to be able to see guys open?
Well, he's been doing it at Oklahoma. All his linemen are 6'5" plus.
Hey
I
guys,
don't
The
think they're going to be
NFL's a
running
whole
that
different
kind of
ball
offense,
game, though.
though.
hey guys, we
Yeah, they're not going to be running that kind of offense in the pros, buddy.
No.
You're gonna get
The
destroyed in
passes
that,
he's yeah, you're pretty high. I mean, look at the passes he throws. They're NFL caliber throws. He makes reads in his offense. This isn't just like Howard Texas.
We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Estamos experimentando dificultades técnicas. Espera.
Experienza tecnica difficultati du serant placere stabile.
私たちは技術的な困難を経験しています。待ってください。
We'll return to our regularly scheduled program in one moment.